And now if I say to you on TalkSport and Talk Radio we're in a state of flux, maybe chaos, I wouldn't be exaggerating. You know what I mean, in all aspects, all levels, all areas of our life. And of course sport is also infected and affected by the constant changes we seem to be hearing about and the constant battle against coronavirus. And we learnt yesterday the National League season may not start as planned on the 3rd of October if supporters are unable to attend. Now, plans for fans to return to watch live sports events in England from the 1st of October will not now happen. That's according to Michael Gove. And the National League will consult with clubs once the government has outlined the latest measures. So fingers crossed, but it is not looking, without being a pessimist, it is not looking good. So we thought we'd touch base with somebody who's directly involved in this. He's the manager of Hemel Hempstead Town FC. They're in action last night, a warm-up game against Deptford, which I think they may have won, or certainly drew. To tell us more, delighted to welcome to TalkSport and Talk Radio, Lee Bircham, Hemel Hempstead Town's manager. Good morning, Lisa. How did you get on last night, matey?
Well, we won 1-0, so that was all good. So you caught me at a good time. So no, it's all good that way. But yeah, it's like the never-ending pre-season, mate. We never know what's going to happen, when it's going to end, or what the outcome is. It's just, it's hard keeping everyone sort of engaged in the season because we don't know what's going on.
Well, that's what I wanted to start by asking you. I mean, how are things on a personal level, almost mentally, for you and the team as far as morale and motivation goes? Because it's like we're all in limbo, you guys in particular.
Yeah, me personally, I'm okay because obviously I jumped a couple of leagues, Paul, so I'm now managing my hometown club, which means everything to me. So I'm still on a buzz from that, to be honest. I'm still on cloud nine, managing Hemel, so everything's a bonus to me in that way. But I can imagine I'm looking around the place and some of the older people there and they've been through it. Yeah, it's getting to them a little bit because they don't know what's going on. It's difficult. You're seeing teams in leagues below underneath us playing football as if nothing happened. But but for our level, and it seems to only be the conference and the conference north and south that really have been affected by all this. Everyone else seems to be getting on with stuff. It's just our level that's really suffered with it, and it's hard to take in that way.
Well, that's what I think you guys, I mean, you're in the 6th tier, but you seem to be between a rock and a hard place because, I think your ground takes up to 3,000 spectators. I think you've got Slough scheduled to be the first match of the new season. I think maybe October the 10th. And I've been along to the Slough ground a few times. I've seen a few games there. And again, that takes a few thousand people. So that's the problem, I think, isn't it? If you were just a kickabout side, and you're far more than that with the history going back to, I think, 1885, you'd be playing. But you're almost between the devil and the deep blue sea.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't partial to it last year and what the votes were because obviously I've only got the job this pre-season. Yeah. But from what I can work out, we're classed as an elite sport. So with elite sport comes no spectators. Now, I don't know whether that's the National League's fault or whatever by classing us as an elite sport. But we're not really. We're still a non-league club. We're not full-time. We're not, it's not our jobs. It's still part-time for us. So in my head, I'm thinking, well, that's not elite. Elite sports professionals, but we're not that. So it just seems ridiculous that, say, as Hemel Hempstead Football Club, we could hire our pitch out to someone in the league below us and, they could play another team at step 3. They could have 600 people there. There could be a bar. It could all work fine. But if we was to play that same team as Hemel Hempstead Football Club, we wouldn't be allowed. It's just, because of the level we're at. It's not anything else. It seems to be the level we're at stops us from operating with crowds. It doesn't make sense to me, but, there was a reason behind it. But I think it's the being classed as the elite sport. Or that's what's stopping us at the minute.
And it is a very difficult thing. I know the government's doing, and I'm not making a point supporting the Tories here, particularly. Any government would have a challenge. It must be like trying to hold a bin bag full of water. But on Sunday, I drove past. I was out kind of South Coast way. I drove past a massive field where every Sunday they have a massive car boot fair, and there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people there from 7 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon. They're mixing, they're mingling, they're talking, they're eating, they're drinking. Barely a face mask in sight, and I'm thinking. That's the same situation that would happen, I mean, probably more regulated in any football ground.
Yeah, I certainly know from the clubs in our level, we're not being unrealistic what we're asking for. We're saying, look, give us 20% of our capacity, not even half, like 20%. We could spread out, most clubs at our level could spread out 500 to 600 supporters And even if we said home supporters only, I think this year people would suffer that.
Yeah.
I think they'd go for that. I don't think any away fans would get the ump with that. If we said, look, home fans only, so the travel thing's okay, and you spread out 500 to 600 people in a ground that holds 4,000, it just seems crazy that you can't do that. But
And also people would know they had to be responsible to keep it going. And we saw that when Brighton trialled it. You know, Ian Abrahams, the Moose from TalkSport, was down there, and he said people were behaving themselves, people were behaving responsibly. Now, I've got a quote in front of me from the National League chairman, Brian Barrick. He said he fears club would suffer economic hardship if spectators were not allowed to return. What is the situation at Hemel, and what is the situation at other clubs when you must speak to other managers? I mean, are things starting to get a bit skinny out there? Are people getting close to the wire?
Yeah, of course they are. You know, at that level, you cannot simply operate without supporters. You just can't do it because there's so many overheads that are not caused by necessarily like a budget or a playing budget and stuff like that. There's all sorts of overheads in running a football club at that level that, you know, it has to have supporters. And to be fair, without supporters, what's the point? You know, it's a community club. It's not a club that have got Football League funding or anything like that. Or it's a community club that the whole point of it is having supporters. You know, it can't simply operate without it. Whether you could, the Football League's different because the Football League funding is a lot more than you get in the National League. So I understand why the National League wouldn't give up their 2 promotional spots, if you like, because last year that was massive. You know, it's like anything, Paul. If you suddenly stop having 2 promotions from the National League, you know, the next year it might be, well, you had only 1 promotion last year, you're only going to get 1 this year. You never know. You don't want to give something like that away. So I understand why the National League stood firm and said, look, we still want our 2 promotion spots because you don't want to give that away. But for us to be classed as elite, it's just crazy. I mean, we got a crazy situation next week where we're still in the FA Cup, and that looks like it's going forward.
Yeah.
So if we get drawn at home, we're not allowed supporters. But if we get drawn away, we can have supporters.
Crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy, mate. It's crazy.
Do you feel you're getting enough communication, not just from the National League, but generally? I mean, are people keeping you in the loop, or are you finding things out the way a lot of us are, simply by watching the telly or listening to TalkSport?
I've given up watching the telly, Paul, if I'm honest. Straight away, I just phoned my chairman. I didn't even listen to the radio or Twitter or anything like that. I literally phoned my chairman because he's got his finger on the pulse. Because same like my chairman, for instance, he's his game's pubs, and he's got a football club. Now they're the 2 worst hit going.
Absolutely.
So he knows everything, and to be fair to him, mate, he's been on the floor with it all. You know, I can see it in his face. You know, his 2 loves, his work all the time and football, and he's got no room to wriggle with it. You know, he doesn't know whether he's coming or going, and I don't blame. You know, there's no blame on anyone. It just seems like at the minute the government are licking their finger, putting it up in the air, and just having a guess with it. They don't really know. But I think if you could go right, I understand why they're doing that, but with this football thing, and for our level, you generally don't understand why they're doing it. It's beyond belief, really.
Let me ask you this then, on a more personal level again. Do you reckon, is there any sense, to try and find a positive, that maybe non-league players and managers are better placed than League 1 and 2 sides to a degree because you guys might have other employment, other sorts of income, or do you think everyone's in the same boat? I mean, you guys having other jobs, of course, doesn't help your club, does it?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Like, from a personal level, and for all my players, it's not their main income, so it doesn't affect it that way, but you know, it's still a massive part of your life, football. You know, we probably more so in that way because we do this as part of what we choose to do. It's not our lifestyle. So, it's hard for us. But listen, in the pro game, it's a little bit different because they've got maybe PFA backing or they've got other sources. You know, the EFL funding is so much more than the National League funding. All that they can maybe offset a few things. We can't in the National League. It literally is. It's our supporters. Yeah. What they pay is what we give out. You know, that's the way it works. We can't simply operate with no supporters. The overheads are too much. You know.
Listen, I hope there is some light at the end of the tunnel. It doesn't turn out to be an oncoming train. Lee, we'll keep in touch with you, matey. Really appreciate your time this morning. Congrats on the result last night and give our best to the club. And, I mean, I know we've all got troubles at the moment, but I hope you all stay safe there. That was the top man himself, Lee Bircham, Hemel Hempstead Town FC's manager, talking to me, Paul Ross, and you guys on TalkSport and Talk Radio. If you want to comment on that, because it does seem to me such a weird contradiction, even within the few rules we know about. It's 08717 22 33 44. Maybe you follow a non-league side and you've got your own questions. If so, if it's on your mind, get it on the radio.